Good evening, this is William, and welcome to the latest installment of I Was a Teenage Daydreamer, where I discuss mostly music, some literature, some film, and some random things that I enjoy, and hopefully you do as well. Tonight's video has a double theme. Not only will I be doing an All You Need Is One, but I'll be introducing another themed topic that is side projects. Of course, All You Need Is One is where I discuss the one album in an artist catalog that I feel like is the only one that you need for whatever reason. And side projects are exactly that. They are musical endeavors that members of a band or multiple bands do outside of their main project. Sometimes those endeavors are more satisfying, at least to me, than their main projects. So, without further ado, in this case, tonight's album is The Breeders' Pod from 1990, their debut album. And the leader of this band was Kim Deal, who was the bassist for the Pixies. And while they were on tour with Throwing Muses around 1988 or so, she and Tanya Donnelly, who was the leader of that band, struck up a friendship and decided to start collaborating together. And this is the result. This is the only album that Tanya Donnelly was on. She did do the Safari EP a couple or so years later. And then rounding out the lineup, we have of course, Josephine Wiggs on bass and Shannon Doughton on vocals and drums. And of course, that is a pseudonym for Britt Walford, the drummer for Slint. So this album is one of my favorite of all times, and I'll be honest, I'm not really sure how I came about discovering this album. I do remember seeing the Safari video on 120 Minutes and liking it. Never tracked it down, and I know that I was a fan of this album before Last Splash from 93 came out, which I did not care for. And that was after Tanya Donnelly had left the band and Kim's sister Kelly joined on lead guitar. But somewhere in the late high school, early college, I discovered this album, loved it, and have loved it ever since. I'd say it's probably a top 25 album for me. So basically, with Kim Deal at the helm, and initially this was supposed to be a dually led band with Kim Deal and Tanya Donnelly, but because of label wranglings, even in the independent world, they couldn't do like equally both, which I just think is ridiculous. I mean, how much different could this band have been, et cetera, et cetera. But essentially, this album was supposed to be mostly Kim Deal songs, and then they were going to do another album of Tanya Donnelly songs, and they actually demoed a lot of those songs, and then she just left the band and formed Belly, and the rest is history. And actually, that first album informs quite a bit in my own musical endeavors, but that is another story that I will probably never tell. Anyway, so this album came out around the same time as Bossa Nova by Pixies and Hunk Papa by Throwing Muses. And I've already done my ranking of Pixies albums, and I do like Bossa Nova a lot, even though it came in third place. And I like Hunk Papa a lot too. That one gets maligned a bit, but I do enjoy that album. Got it back there on vinyl. But this is, to me, what Pixies could have sounded like if Black Francis had given Kim a little bit more input. Let her write more than just one song or so an album. And it's produced by Steve Albini, who, of course, produced Pixies' first album, Surfer Rosa. And honestly, the sound quality is in some ways better than the performance quality. This is a very loose album, and I won't say it's a lot of first takes, but I think they are taking most spirited takes or most interesting takes over what might be most best take, what might be the best take. And that doesn't mean there's a bunch of bad notes and things like that. There are definitely some angular moments, but this album is not polished and nailed down with spikes and slick and all that fun stuff. It's got great tones and it's very solid and it's very present. But it's also very loose, and that makes it a whole lot of fun. This is people coming together and enjoying playing music, and that's a lot of times my favorite. So just, running through the songs, Glorious starts off, it's slow, it's deliberate, and reading some critical write-ups, professional critical write-ups, some people didn't like that. They didn't like the slower paced songs. I think it's great. I mean, yeah, that could have been, quote, catchier if it had been sped up like the next track, Doe, maybe, but it would have lost some of its intensity and some of its meaning. And, the lyrics are all over the place. The song Hellbound is supposedly about a living abortion. That's pretty dark. And there is some darkness in here, but then there are a lot of just random references, a lot of non sequiturs, a lot of things just kind of thrown together. And that's informed, I think, in a lot of ways by the cover song that they do on here, which is Happiness is a Warm Gun, of course, by the Beatles from the White Album. And in my opinion, and I'm not a big fan of the White Album, I think the Breeders' version of this song blows the original out of the water. I mean, you sunk my battleship. Absolutely and all the way. It's spirited and lively and just gritty and just all over the place. The dynamics are everywhere. And that's another big thing about this album is dynamics. It goes up, it goes down, it goes fast, it goes slow from song to song, to track to track. And it always keeps you guessing, but the sense of melody is always there. There are lots and lots of great melodies. And I've always loved Kim's voice, and she is all over the place. She hits high piercing notes and low kind of growling notes, and it's really great. It's really, really great. Highlights for me are especially Fortunately Gone, which almost has a very, very light, breezy, almost, I want to say Caribbean or Latin, but just on a beachy type feel to it. Iris, which is very brooding and driving in places, and very, very art school indie, if you will. And then my favorite, Limehouse, which is super catchy, could have been a hit, or at least a college radio hit, along with A Doe, another really catchy song. And again, this is what latter Pixies albums could have sounded like a little bit, with Kim Deal being given a little bit more freedom. But, what's great is we do get a great Pixies album and a great Throwing Muses album, and then a great first album by Breeders. So as far as other output, I did not care for Last Splash at all. I didn't like Cannonball. I do like the B-side cover version of Lord of the Thighs on the Cannonball single. But that album, Last Splash, just did not do it for me. I thought the video for Cannonball was kind of cringy. And again, as I've discussed in earlier videos, I was beginning to fall out of love with indie rock by the time that album was gaining popularity. And then later albums, TK, Title TK, Mountain Battles, I've heard them. They're fine. They're nice. I love the Amps album. But for me, this is the one to have. I picked it up on vinyl a while back, and I spin it every 3 or 4 weeks loud because it needs to be played loud. So yeah. So this is tonight's video, tonight's offering. The Breeders' debut album, Pod, from 1990. To me, an indie rock classic, an indie rock blueprint, a superior cover version of a Beatles song. For me, Kim Deal's best moment collectively. I won't say Tanya Donnelly's because she doesn't get to shine much. She's just playing lead, and she's got some really nice lead and backing vocals and things like that. And let me know what you think about Pod and the breeders in general. And click like and subscribe if you like. But most importantly, keep doing what you love. Thanks.